Hi, everyone. Mark DeJesus here, your brother from another mother, bringing you insights for your healing and freedom journey, especially when it comes to mental, emotional, and relationship health. I'm excited in the release of my new book, The OCD Healing Journey, which is available now. And today I want to talk about OCD from this vantage point. You feel like in your journey, sometimes you kind of think, I feel like things are getting worse. You know, you're frustrated, you're struggling. Now, this isn't meant to replace any professional help that you're getting. Remember, I'm a brother from another mother, but I want to bring you some perspectives to your life and to your journey that could help put things into a better perspective by giving you 12 reasons why you may feel like things are getting worse. The first one is that in your journey, when it comes to the OCD battles that you have, first of all, is you still don't see some of these areas as OCD. You don't see them as obsessive-compulsive. We often have to realize that when we recognize obsessive-compulsive aspects of our life, sometimes we go, well, I'm only that in this area. And we have to realize it often affects a lot of our perspectives and a lot of ways that we see things. And we typically defend our perspectives before we allow ourselves to realize there needs to be some renewed perspectives in how I relate to my thoughts, how I relate to God, how I relate to myself and the world around me. If we're able to step back, then we can start to see the problem is not the problem. But for a while, we think the problem is the problem. And that's what reinforces the compulsive patterns, which leads me to number two. Why we may feel like things seem to be getting worse is that your compulsive behavior keeps validating the obsession, meaning this: when we feel a disturbance and then you re-pray about it, you ask Jesus into your heart over and over again, you confess something, you fix something, clean something, edit something, whatever it is that you do, when you do the compulsion, it first feels like relief. But then what happens is it's a trap. And the compulsion tells your thinking, the obsessive topic is true, it's validated, it's real, and you must be on high alert over the subject now. And so when we starve the compulsion, we feel like things kick up. Oh my goodness, I feel like a tidal wave is hitting me, when actually you're headed in the right direction. And you think things are getting worse, but you're actually moving against the fear, towards the fear, through the fear, rather than just obeying everything that fear tells you. So at first, your compulsion is constantly validating the obsession. That's true. So the obsession keeps growing. It keeps growing. Whatever you spin about keeps growing. Then you make a decision, I'm going to move through this. I'm starving the compulsion. And then you feel like it ratchets up even more. Well, this doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't have to be for a lifetime, even though it feels like it. You're now moving through a journey of facing your fears at a new level. So while this seems like, it actually can be good news. It doesn't have to be bad news why you're feeling what you're feeling. Number three is the obsessive topic gets constant attention, where you have a salvation obsession that you spin about. So you constantly have to talk about it. You constantly bring it up. You look it up, research. So your compulsive behavior magnifies it. And there's a compulsive activity going on around the subject that keeps it center stage. It keeps it as the most important thing. And what gets attention in our lives grows. And then we feel like, this thing is just so big, it's owning my life. It doesn't have to own our life. It's just been stimulated so much. When a thought is stimulated over and over and over again, what does it do? It grows and it feels like it has center attention, but it doesn't have to. Number four, a reason why we feel like, oh my goodness, things are getting worse is because the fear factor. I have learned over and over and over again that fear creates a smoke and mirrors over the danger of something, that when you face it, I've seen times in my life where I look back and I go, I can't believe how much I was spinning over that, how much it owned my thinking. And you know what it was? It was fear. I was afraid of the subject. And obsessors, you have to realize it is fear that gives the thought power over your life. Without fear, we can begin to manage and work through and see things in greater perspective. Now, I will say there is a struggle in working with obsessive compulsives. There's a number of areas that can make it challenging, but one of them is that there's so much avoidance. Fear creates avoidance. So we avoid reading books. We avoid watching Mark's videos because we see the topic. We go, oh my goodness, that's going to trigger something in me, right? We have this constant, we avoid places, situations, things, right? Because fear, anything that could possibly trigger it. Maybe you react to the thought with fear and you try to force it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. It just magnifies fear. And when we serve what fear is saying, we give the thought power and the obsession seems to magnify. Number 5, and it ties right into the fear because anxiety and guilt work hand in hand to keep obsessive-compulsive activity going. And this is guilt factor. Guilt is the language of I feel bad. And compulsives respond to guilt a lot. They do things out of guilt. And even when guilt is not there, and there's nothing to even feel guilty for, they check for it and they find nooks and crannies of it. And leaving guilt feels like they're doing something wrong. And so there's a lot of withdrawal. We often can live a life where we are constantly checking for guilt and responding to guilt. And we often have to learn how to detox guilt in our freedom journey. Number 6 is that your lifestyle is based on checking for disturbances, for flaws, for sins, for areas that are not completely just right. Your safety valve, what you look for in trying to experience safety, that I'm grounded, I can rest, I'm okay. It's founded upon checking for any disturbance. And I got to make it just right. And so it keeps you in a constant loop and cycle. So it keeps inflaming these areas. Number 7, and this is a big one, you compare yourself to others. You stand in church and you look around and you go, none of these people around here struggle with this. They seem to have it all together. Or you sit there at work and you look around, none of these people, they seem to be living normal lives. And here I am. I felt that all the time. I look out at church, look out at my community, and I felt like there was a plexiglass wall between me and the rest of the world. I could see it, I couldn't connect to it, couldn't live in it, and that made the problem worse. And I was comparing my journey with others, and it was not allowing me to see myself with compassion, patience, and grace. In fact, it fueled a hostile relationship that I had with myself, which leads me to number 8. You may feel like things are getting worse because you hold a perfectionistic standard to yourself, which means you can't appreciate the growth. You can't appreciate the process you are making, the journey that you're on. You have this high expectation of where you should be, and I should be here 10 years ago, and I'm not there. And so nothing is ever good enough. So it's hard to celebrate. You have so much pressure. You're incredibly hard on yourself. Obsessors live in a self versus self world. God's love is flowing to you. His grace is flowing to you. Other people are trying to love on you, but it hits this wall, and the wall is you against yourself because you hold this incessant standard that doesn't allow yourself to have grace on the journey to realize, I'm working through some goofy struggles, and God is gracious with me. He's patient, and I'm learning day in and day out how to celebrate the small steps. And even when I felt like I'm regressing or falling back, it's okay. I'm learning. And it's not about falling back. It's about just learning at each step of the way. Are you too hard on yourself? It's a classic symptom of OCD. The 9th one it ties into the previous. You despair over setbacks. And I say setbacks in quotes because many times you're not going backwards. You're stumbling forward. But you're moving forward, it just feels awkward. And this is where you have to have a journey mentality. I'm on a journey, and this is all about the learning. It's not about failure. It's all about the learning. What would it look like if you looked at yourself with kindness and patience instead of despair, self-hate, shame, dread, and despairing over where you're at? Because that's when you despair over yourself, that's unloving. It's anti-love. I want to encourage you to live in love. I want to encourage you to settle in love by activating the love that God has for you and applying it to your thoughts, applying it to your perspective. Number 10 is you're waiting for all the feelings to go away. You're waiting for it all to go away so then you can take a step forward. Obsessors are convinced they cannot move forward until the issue is resolved. So it keeps us stuck. and it feels like it's just getting worse and it's never going to go away. And what I've learned is that when I just stay stuck and don't take the step, it makes fear grow. It makes the situation seem more impossible. It makes the story get reinforced that I'm always going to be this way. I'm never going to be able to break free. I'm always going to have this struggle. And it causes me to feel victimized. It feels me stuck, and I begin to loathe where I'm at, loathe what's happening. And what we need is life breathed back into us. And often it's taking a step, one step. That's it. One step forward. That's it. It's not 100 steps. You got to change your life by tomorrow. It's just taking one step. And love sets the stage for what that next step is. I got a few more here. 2 more. The 11th one is you want God to do this for you. God, help me. God, help me. Just do this. Would you just set me free? And we dismiss the step that we need to take because this is our participation. I'm participating with God's healing work in my life. I'm participating with his love and saying yes to it. And I'm stepping out into it. And so maybe many of you today need to make that shift. You pray and you pray and you pray. And it may be time to go, you know what? I'm going to take a step and I'm going to participate in the renewing process of what I'm learning and what I'm growing in. Number 12, you may not have thought this. Well, this is a grand setup for me to tell you. Number 12, you may feel like it's getting worse, but you're actually going deeper. And do you know sometimes when we grow in our journey, it feels like it's getting worse before it gets better? Because we kick up stuff. We kick up brokenness. The bushes have been shaking and the critters are all coming out, right? And we used to play to fear. We used to do what it says. And now we're moving in the opposite direction. You're moving towards the fear now and it kicks everything up and you go, whoa, I've unleashed a monster. No, you haven't. You are now practicing new directions. And when we move in a new direction, it feels awkward, doesn't it? It feels foreign. Feels like your compass isn't working. You feel this. And many people who transition away from their compulsions, they feel this nebulous kind of abyss that they enter into because it's so unfamiliar. And they're learning to walk new steps they haven't walked before. They're walking in a new territory they've never walked before. It feels unfamiliar at times, especially for religious OCDers. It feels wrong. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. And we retreat and we go back, right? And then we take another step out. So you actually may be in a season where you are realizing the problem is not the problem. I'm going deeper. So I think it's important that you give yourself time and patience with your journey, that you give yourself graciousness to say, I'm going to walk and I'm going to learn. And I am learning each day new layers and I'm learning to apply it and I'm learning to practice these areas. And if you want to go deeper, I encourage you to get yourself a copy of the OCD Healing Journey. Get to the heart of your obsessive-compulsive struggles and experience some renewal in your life. If this video has been a blessing to your day, to your life, and your journey, would you click the like button? Would you subscribe to the channel and share this with your friends? Say, hey, this helped me. Maybe it can be a blessing to your own life too. If you'd like to support these videos, you can go to markdejesus.com, click on the donate button, and you can give a one-time donation or become a regular supporter. But until next time, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, is your brother from another mother saying, in the meantime, I'm out.